Hello, anti-novelists. Here we are at the ranch. There's my little chicken coop. Just checking. Ooh, nice. Checking on the fire. It is getting cold. Here at the ranch, there's my little garden. Oh, goodness. Seen better days, but she'll get revived in the spring. So, let's go inside. And, oh, what a beautiful day. But it's getting chilly. Let's go inside and I'll check in and show you where I'm at. Oh, look what we have here. It's Kit, the killer, coming up from the barn. The Black Panther. Yeah, she's awesome. She can take down huge birds on her own. She does not care. What an awesome cat. All right, let's go inside. Okay, guys, we're back inside over here at the double wide Zettelkasten, which is, I'm loving it so much. Everything is put in order now. Everything is back where it belongs and in nice order. So I'm ready to get started and dive back in. So since this is video number 100, woo, we made it to 100. Woo, earthquake, yay. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I have a lot of new people. Thank you all, my newbies who are just joining and who have asked so many terrific questions. I love them. There's no such thing as a stupid or an unnecessary question. Please throw them all at me. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go back to basics. I'm going to go back to the very beginning of a project, and I'm going to walk you through, whether you are a plot-driven or a character-driven writer, how to set up and harness your Zettelkasten so that you can start that writing project, okay? So that's where I'm going to begin. You will need a few tools and things, and I'm going to line those out for you, but we're just going to start at the very beginning, and I'm going to walk you through what that process looks like, because I know it can be really confusing when you're thinking, oh, all I need is a big pile of blank note cards, or all I need is some tabs for organization. Well, you got to have a map. You got to have a plan, regardless of what kind of writer you are. Even if you're a pantser, pantsing with purpose, which is a chapter in my book, Zettelkasten for Fiction Writers, which is coming along nicely. Pantsing with purpose is still a nice way to proceed forward so that you can mark that you're making progress. You don't get lost in the weeds, but you still have that free creative writing freedom that you like to have as a write by the seat of your pantser. So I'm going to hit pause for just a second and pull out a few things, and then we will continue. Okay, so here we are. If you know anything about my process, you know that I always begin with my plot box. My plot box has the 8 major plot points that make up a traditional Western conflict-driven narrative, often following along with the hero's journey. And then in between those 8 major plot points are 3 little prompts that include things that could be happening to drive the story from plot point to plot point. So my major plot points, so I've got Act 1. Major plot point 1 is my inciting incident, and 2 is the first plot point, and that takes us into Act 2, where we find the first battle and the midpoint, right? That takes us into Act 3. Second battle, second plot point. That takes us into Act 4, where we wrap it all up, the final battle, and then what's often referred to as the rebirth. Okay, so those are your 8 major plot points. Then in between those, I have things like a call to adventure, or sticking your head in the sand, or over here in Act 2, enemies and allies, games and trials. Okay, so these are things that can occur within that plot. Will they all occur? Will you write all of those items? Ooh, there's the light. No, you're not going to use all 24 of these little prompts that I've inserted. These are just things to help get you from point A to point B. So this answers my question from CH She's over in my fiction writers group, and she said in her novel, her fiction story, she's having trouble getting from point A to point B to point C, like that connective tissue in between. That's one of the uses of these little prompts that go in between the major plot points. Sometimes if you can be like, okay, so right before the midpoint, I have a few options. I've got forces of evil, I've got a problem revealed, and I've got a truth and or an ultimatum. If one of those three things sparks something and you think, ooh, if they discover a particular problem, grappling with that problem is what's going to get me to the midpoint of my story, right? So you're using the beats, the potential things that could happen in a story off of my list. And those are the things that are going to help you connect up those major plot points. Here's the thing. You have to be able to see your story. So independent of the 32 beats or points of the plot box, let's just talk about story for a second. Yes, that is a cat behind. Say hello, kitty. She's back on the desk. She's feeling much better, but still sitting on the desk because it makes her feel safe. Okay, so let's break this down. One of the things that I'm going to walk you through in the Zettelkasten for Fiction Writers book is I'm going to walk you through how to choose the shape of your story. It's called plot modeling, okay? So let's say, for example, you're going to choose the traditional hero's journey. Okay, so maybe your hero starts out here and this is their normal. And then they go here and they encounter some kind of a challenge. And that challenge maybe sets them back a little bit. And then they learn something and then they head on their journey until they hit a second challenge. Overcoming that second challenge is what then maybe spins their mind around and they think, oh my gosh, I've got to figure this out. I've got to come to terms with all of these things that I've learned and what's happened. It's going to make me doubt myself. It's going to make me question myself. But then going through that process is the thing that allows that hero to continue on their journey, to have the final battle, to defeat their inner monster, to defeat the evil, what have you. And that's how they land at the end of the story. Okay, so this is what a plot model looks like. And in my book, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of these. So you'll be able to sit down and say, okay, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't look like the kind of story that I want to write. Okay. Instead, what if we do a try-fail cycle? So your hero, heroine starts out here and they have a particular problem, which is something they need to deal with. And they try to fix that problem. They try to deal with it and they fail. And so they learn something and they try to fix it again and they fail, but they learn something else. And then they try a third time and they fail. And this takes them down to their rock bottom. Holy moly, things are really bad now. They're totally doubting themselves. But then they make their discovery. They maybe get some allies and some people to help them. They gather some more resources and they try again. And that is how they end up at the win. Okay, so that is a very different story journey, this one, from that one. Do you see what I mean? So you can literally map out, you can story model out what you want your story to look like. Maybe instead of those, you're going to say, okay, my hero, heroine person starts here. And they have this level of knowledge. This is what their world looks like here. And the first thing that happens is, boom, they get kicked on their behind and they land flat. And then they have to fight their way just to get back to what their normal was. Okay. And then they go along and maybe here is where they meet an ally. Maybe they gather some forces and some knowledge. And because of that, they discover something that they want. And that causes them to aspire. And then maybe they reach another level where they have to gather some knowledge gather some more resources, and that allows them to try and aspire to the next level where, oof, something knocks them back down. And then ultimately, because of the knowledge of this thing and the knowledge of this thing, so because of these things that they've collected, this conflict does not defeat them. Instead, that conflict is what allows them to use the forces and resources that they've gathered to gather their forces for the win and to come out in the end. Okay. So those are all very different ways of visualizing what your story looks like. So for those of you who have said to me in the comments that you're a very visual person, I want you to sit down with your note cards and I want you to think about, what does my story look like? And get very detailed, okay? So if I were going to do this with the novel that I've written, I would say, okay, Tara, my main female character, she starts here. And she's going along and she's having a pretty groovy life. Everything is good. She's digging it. You know, she's pretty happy. It's not that, you know, everybody wants something extraordinary. Everybody wants something special. But she's not fixated on that. She's just cruising along in her life. And then she meets the Voynich manuscript. And boom, pow, whack. Lightning sparks fly. And that sends her down a spiral, or rather down in a straight line, where she meets her mentor. She meets her partner. And then between them all, they begin to start and solve this mystery that they are all a part of. Now, this is only from the perspective of my main female character. So then there is an attack. That's a setback. They have to regroup. From their regrouping, they're able to discover some things. Remember over in the plot box, I said you make a discovery, a problem is revealed, you're gathering friends and allies, gathering your forces, etc., and so forth. In my story, there is another setback and recovery and another setback and recovery. And it is the lessons learned from these setbacks and these recoveries that allow them to gather all of the things that they've learned over these final challenges and come out on the end. Okay, this is important because my book is the first of a trilogy. So they come out on a win. However, that win is not without a setback, and that setback is what takes you into the next book. So this is a bit of a cliffhanger, okay? So if you can get really specific with just that main character, and who are they going to meet? What is it going to look like? If they make this decision, does it go this way and it's up, or does it go this way and it's down? Just use your either this raises them up or this knocks them down arrows and work out what that story looks like. Because I tell you, when you can see it on the paper and then go in and be like, okay, she's going to meet Gretchen here, and she's going to meet Marshall Branch here. And then when they get here, she's going to meet Jet, and and the conflict that happens here is how she learns about a certain kind of power. Okay. And then these other conflicts. Okay, so this conflict is going to get her thing number 1. This win is going to get her thing number 2. This conflict gets her thing number 3. And this conflict gets her thing number 4. And those 4 things are the things that allow her to the magical 5th thing. And that is how she gets the win, but not without a setback that provides the cliffhanger into the next book. See what I did there? That's what I want you to do. Now, some of you are going to ask me, but what about the numbers? How do I number these cards, V? Well, easy peasy. In my book, Zettelkasten for Fiction, I'm going to give you the numbering system for doing story modeling. I'll show you the way that I do it. But for our sake here, let's just say over in your own Zettelkasten, you designate a section in your note box. Let's just call it 1500. The 1500s are where you are going to do your story modeling. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go to your index. You know that I depart from the Scott Scheper system in that my index is not A through Z cards in a box. My index is in a Happy Planner binder. So I would go over here I would go to P under plot modeling, and I would make an entry under P for plot modeling, and I would give it that number. Let's just call it 1150. I would also go to M, and I would make a note, modeling dash plot 1150. So whatever spurs my memory to go look for these cards, my index is going to tell me where they are. And then I'm just going to label these. I'm going to label them 1150/1. All right. 1150/2. 1150/3, and you got it. 1150/4. Now, I have my 4 plot modeling cards. So I'm going to take these next. Let's just say, since this is the one that is actually based on the book that I wrote, next I would take this and I would go start doing character development cards. So that's where we'll pick up tomorrow. So step 1 is draw out some ideas for what your story could look like. All right. You've got lots of different options. And then we'll talk about how to start wrapping character development around what that story looks like on your cards. So if you are a model builder, if you are a visual planner, a visual learner, I would say perhaps the plot modeling cards are the way to get that story out of your head and onto a visual representation so you can start working out the details. So I will leave you there for today in this video number 100. Woo, we made it 100, guys. This is crazy. But yeah, we're good. On another note, my opt-in over at victoriacrowder.com is now all set up. My mentor and guru, Scott Scheper, has dialed everything in, so it's beautiful and it's working perfectly. So if you have not popped over to victoriacrowder.com and entered your email, please do so, and that will get you on my list so that you start getting real-time updates on when the book is available and some of the cool free stuff that I'm going to send you. I haven't launched that yet, so just get on the list and that will be your placeholder for when I launch those weekly emails. Everything goes well, I hope to launch that next week. So that's my plan. I'm sticking to it. But in the meantime, pop over there, drop me your email, and drop a comment down below if you are a visual learner, a visual plotter, and you think that drawing out your plot model might be a way to help you. Another thing that we're going to do in this process is I'm going to show you how to then take your cards and break out each one of these points onto a card so that you're further breaking down that story. So we've got some cool stuff coming, guys, all because you have asked amazing questions and helped me understand better how I can help you. So I will continue showing up and being of service if you keep sending me questions, because I love it. You guys challenge me, and that for me is the most fun part. So I'll leave you there. The furnace is on. It's nice and toasty warm in here. It's only 1:15, which means I've easily got 4 hours, which gives me 8 writing sprints. So I'm going to head over to the stand-up desk and start working on chapter 7, where I'm writing about using microfiction as a way to spur your larger projects forward. So that's what I'm going to work on. I will see you all tomorrow. As always, thank you so much for being here. I love you guys, and I don't say that lightly. I'm so grateful that you're with me on this journey, because how much more fun could we be having? This is awesome. So I will leave you there for today. Thank you.